Coverage on this deadly fire in Fall River turns now to our first responders and the possible mental health impacts of dealing with a tragedy like this. Western Mass News reporter Matt Price is live in the studio tonight with more details for us. So firstly, Matt, what resources are out there for those firefighters?
Well, Amanda, one of them is the Watch Wellness Center, an outpatient facility in Ludlow for those suffering from anxiety or PTSD after a job like this. And following the horror they and many others endured just last night, it's important these first responders know there are resources they can turn to.
The calls don't just fade once the scene is cleared, they stay with people.
A deadly situation rocking the Bay State Sunday night when flames ripped through the Gabriel House assisted living facility in Fall River, taking the lives of at least 9 people and injuring dozens more, including 5 firefighters. While we're able to see the physical damage after fires like this, what we don't see is the impact to the first responders on scene. That's why organizations like the Watch Wellness Center in Ludlow is there for those heroes to exhale.
They're not just witnesses to trauma, but they're also partners in healing. And when we support their mental health, we're also strengthening, we believe, the public safety system as a whole.
Lisa Knowles, CEO of the Watch Wellness Center, making it clear mental health is as critical as physical health and says there are plenty of symptoms to watch out for.
Have you noticed changes in your sleep habits? Are you having trouble falling asleep, staying asleep? Are you sleeping too much? Are you having nightmares? Is there an emotional numbness, feeling distant or detached or shut down? Are you losing interest? Are you pulling away from family, friends, or hobbies that you used to enjoy?
Springfield Fire Captain Drew Pamonti giving us more insight on the initiatives out there to help combat mental struggles our local heroes face.
At the local level, we have an employee assistance program with the city of Springfield that we can utilize, and we have levels at the state and the international level as well, where we can get people into professional counseling for mental health for whatever their needs are.
And for any responder going through trauma right now, Knowles has this message for them.
There is a safe space for you. I know that making that call, that first call, is the hardest, but I can tell you that many people who have come through our door have said, boy, I wish I had come sooner.
Very important information and advice there from Knowles. She also says to those first responders dealing with mental health struggles that they are not alone. Obviously, the firefighters and overall community of Fall River will need all the support they can get following this overnight tragedy. Reporting live in the studio, Matt Price, Western Mass News.